So, we have a guest, and I see him sitting in our green
Waiting
room waiting to
patiently,
come in. So,
listening to
Stephanie,
me
I want
rant
to
and
let you
rave.
go ahead and do the introduction while I bring our guest online.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm super, super excited, y'all. Over his career, this is Shawn Gunn, everybody. Over his career, Shawn has played a key role in helping multiple companies successfully exit. He has raised over $50 million in venture funding and created over $1 billion in exit
Billion.
value for investors. Billion with a B. Today, Shawn Gunn is co founder and CEO of Play, an artificial intelligence driven wagering and data analytics platform for video gamers. Previously, Shawn was founder and CEO of Persona, a personal data security and monetization ecosystem that was acquired by Nokia. Prior to Persona, Shawn sharpened his deal making skills at Traffic.com, where he helped grow the venture backed startup to a $180 million acquisition by Navtech. Shawn then became global head of monetization for Navtech, which led to an $8 billion purchase by Nokia, which is still the largest single data acquisition deal in history. Shawn went on to build the first globalized mobile advertising and gaming network at Nokia, which was acquired by Microsoft. Shawn has been featured in mainstream media as a leading technology entrepreneur and early stage investor in Fortune, Black Enterprise, Forbes, and Reuters. He received his BS from Florida A&M
Of
University,
course,
Rattler,
that's why you're on the
Hounds,
show. Of
Rattlers, and
course.
lives with
That's
his
why I'm
family
laughing
in Los
because
Angeles. Listen, me and Shawn
it's
have
my
known each
homegirl.
other
Yeah.
we have known each other for well over 20 years at this point. Just going way back, Rattler family in the building. Shawn
Philadelphia.
Gunn, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for having
joining
me.
us on the Tech John.
Yeah.
Welcome,
First of all, you
welcome,
guys rock.
welcome to
So
the show.
applaud you guys. Thanks for doing this. We need this other side of journalism and media
Okay.
to balance some things out. So I was listening to your commentary on Streamlytics, who I'm an investor in as well. I know Angela for a long time, and you know what you guys are talking about is important because you have to balance it. That's part of the narrative we have to create for investors and for users, that our water is just as cold as other people's, right? And to validate products and services, no matter what gender or race you are, right? So thank you for doing that.
Preach. Preach.
Welcome once again. Welcome to the show. And so you was listening. What,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this? Because, like I said, I try to bring a little bit of humor to it, but it's like
Nah,
you
I'm funny.
successfully, run companies, have had some massive exits. Is the trick going to a secluded island? Because I can book some tickets right now if that's what's
Yeah.
necessary. I can book me a flight.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of tricks. Some of those exits were with teams of people that didn't look like me, right? So that helps. There's nothing wrong with that, but it gets more challenging when it's, brown melanin in the building. That's
Out front.
part of the leading. Doesn't have to be on
Mm-hmm.
part of the leadership team and female founders, right? So if you're a black female founder, you're taking it in the mouth, right? I will admit I probably have a few extra levels of capabilities walking in as a black man. Not many, but I've seen how black female founders get treated, which is no different statement than how black women get treated, right, in the general society. So um,
Preach.
yeah, I think part of the trick is, and you mentioned this earlier, as we all are navigating life, we know that this society wasn't created for us. The game wasn't created for us. And so any one of us that gets, and we all put achievement on exits, right? And clearly that's, those are the rings that we've all been led to judge by. But sometimes keeping your business up and running is a level of success. Getting
Right.
one investor is a level of success. So we have to stop falling in love with the hyper vision of VC funding. Every business isn't a VC funded business. And I think we've all fallen in love with the allure of movies and social media and that imagery, but having businesses that are just turning a profit is a level of success, and sometimes doesn't demand that you have a venture group behind you. I think that's part of the problem, right? Is when I have a lot of friends of different backgrounds that are in the venture game, and they all are kind of trained to think a certain way, right? It's this pattern recognition, and the pattern recognition starts with what school did you go to, what investment bank or what tech company did you start with,
What accelerator you out of?
Are you wearing the right hoodie?
all those things, right? And that ends up being this pattern that they think is going to lead to a level of success, which we all have seen does not, right? There's still very small percentages, no matter where you start, that actually get over whatever the perceived finish line is. And so I think, unfortunately, that's the game that we're kind of playing today. How you fix that is to change the rules of the game, or don't play that game.
Right.
And that's hard, right? Because the rules in this world are set where you're supposed to do X, Y, and then Z. And so I think that's where you see a bunch of people are starting to change that narrative, right? It's why, this is probably our ancestors and grandparents said, why you keep beating your head against that wall when there's open doors over here? Those open doors might not be as sexy, but they're open. And what I found is if you can not do this for ego, but do it for business KPIs, every time I've looked back 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, nobody actually cares how you got to $100 million in revenue.
Okay.
Right? They care in the beginning because they're trying to put you in the narrative. But whether you had to go to third world countries or to Pluto, once you hit those revenue numbers, and people are like, okay, somebody's paying you, and it's cash flow, right? So I think that's the one thing I try to tell myself every day, but tell other entrepreneurs is sometimes the universe always shows you a path. It's just not sexy. And you're willing to maybe not do the sexy thing to achieve the goal, right?
I hear you, man. So tell us about Play. I mean, AI-based wagering, fintech, gaming. Yeah. That's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. Break it down for us.
Yeah. So first, I'll start by my co-founder who went down this journey with me, Christine Krasnowski. So
shout out to Christine.
Yeah, Christine is expert in influencer marketing, user acquisition. She spent a lot of time with the FanDuel team from kind of their C to B. And so she kind of saw the vision. I gave her this crazy idea that, probably 5 years ago, people will be betting on video games, and we end up doing all this different stuff in what we now know to be Web3, right? And so we went on this journey, and I think what we found is that, to your point, there's a lot of investors that can trick the game, right? They can get the veneer of a service to look like it's automated when there's really a lot of, little people in the back pulling
some folks in the Philippines.
Exactly. And I had spent too much time in data businesses to know that that's not going to scale. So ended up spending a lot of time investing in AI and computer vision and machine learning, and figured out that was a way to kind of create a wager moment on top of an existing game without having a relationship with that publisher, right? And so we built that out with some partners and friends. And in essence, our AI gives us the ability to get a gamer to stream their match on any service, but like a Twitch-like stream. And while that stream is in real time, we can pull data attributes out of that stream. So what's the score? How much time is left? What achievements have taken place? And be able to certify in real time who really is winning that match and who won, which up until we came into the market was a big challenge, right? Platforms were reliant on people to tell the truth. So, what was the score, Stephanie? Does it line up with what Shawn says? And if it doesn't, there's all this friction and nobody gets paid, right? And all that is born out of the fact that most gaming publishers, it's starting to change now, we're not willing to completely dip their toe into wagering or betting, right? And we get all the reasons why, but I think that's changing. So our AI is really around that. Now we're starting to navigate into collecting behavioral data. So how do players play each other, skill level, betting habits, and then roll this up into algorithms that then give us the ability to trigger actions, right? So maybe you should double down or try to get this person to do in-match wager because you have some slight advantage, right? So all those things will be what we roll out going forward. So we started that platform in a B2C offering. We've now made some announcements. We're integrating into some B2B games, mobile games, and I think we're going to start to proliferate that. We take a pretty strong view on becoming a trusted environment. So we do age verification and geography verification. So we want users to know that when you wager someone, not only is it of someone of age and in the right geography, but you also are going to get paid, and we demand that from our technology.
All right, so break it down, because when you know, I'm a gamer. Well, I play games. I'm not necessarily a gamer, right? Let me make sure I make that clear, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about sports betting, I'll use this as an example. You can come up with all these ways to bet. You can over and under. You can bet percentages. You can bet they're going to throw these many yards. They're going to shoot these many threes. You know, there are all these different ways you can bet on a typical sporting game.
That's
but
crazy. I'm glad I don't gamble.
But when you think of like betting on gaming, expand my mind, right? I think of, okay, well, this person's going to win. I bet this person's going to win. And if I bet this person's going to win, then I'm going to, make the money. Kind of explain how many different ways, and you kind of alluded to it earlier in your, your overview, but kind of explain how many different ways a person, whether it be the gamer or just somebody spectating, how they can get into this, and how many different ways and how many all the different options that your platform is providing them to wager on these certain aspects.
Yeah, so what we have initially started our phase one is just pure peer-to-peer, right? So what we found is that the population of gamers, and we really are harnessing kind of a competitive amateur. That's probably who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
No hope of being like Ninja or being on Team Liquid, although that's part of our...
I'm Atlanta phase, so...
There you go. And so we wanted to make it super simple. So today we only let you bet on the peer-to-peer. What is the outcome of the match?
Okay.
Are you going to beat me or am I going to beat you? This year, you'll see us start to fold in from the data we're collecting, we call micro wagering. So not only can you bet on the end result, but like I said, we'll have algorithms that say, hey, Steph, it looks like you now have a 62% chance of beating Shawn. You should try to get him to double down or do some other kind of in-match moments. And obviously that helps with a few things. It increases your monetization. You may be getting blown out the game, but there might be a micro wager moment that can win some cash. So we think that will engage as well. And so there'll be a list of those. We have about 10 of those different bets, right, that we'll unleash there. And then we'll make an announcement here probably in this quarter around a sportsbook partnership or set of partnerships that will then allow us to let fans wager on the match that they're watching. So the key difference between peer-to-peer betting, wagering, and betting is the fact that fans don't have control of the outcome, where Stephanie and I do, right? And that's legal under the U.S. gaming laws as long as we can control the outcome of that match, and it's in a kind of skill-based game, which most of the video games that are in the market kind of meet that criteria. But once you allow people that are just watching to kind of place a wager, you've generally stepped into regulated betting, and there needs to be a license there. So we have some partners we've lined up that are traditional sports betting partners that will enter this market, and basically they'll let you be able to watch a tournament or a contest or a peer-to-peer match, and we'll put up different kinds of bets on the screen, whether it's a mobile device or we're looking at interactive TV type engagements. And you'll be able to place a bet based on knowing, players' data history and analytics and, all the things you would see in a normal sporting environment. We'll do the same. And so I think there'll be a mix of versions of lines and odds, right? Because that comes into play when you put two people that aren't of the same skill level. And it's like, Stephanie's really good in Pac-Man, so she might need to give me a, point or something. But I think the same logic will hold true. What we are finding, though, is, and this is what I've been trying to educate the regulated or Vegas type partners on, is that this 18 to 35-year-old gaming demographic really doesn't understand traditional sports betting, right? They don't get what, -7 and all this different vernacular. It's like your first day you went to the casino and played craps, right? And it's like, what the heck is all this stuff? And then as soon as you learn, it becomes second nature. So I think there is either a learning curve or there's a different type of sports betting or regulated betting that we and others can kind of put in front of our users. I don't want to say it's dumbed down, but I think the new demographic of users is used to simplicity, right? They want options, but they don't want to think about it, and they don't want it to be elongated, right? It's like, I'm watching this event, I could win money, super clear on what my value proposition is, right? If I bet $1, I get 80 cents back, or I get whatever, right? And I think that's where Play is trying to create that transparent society, right? On our platform, you buy tokens today to enter contests. We have Play utility tokens, and that's how we derive our revenue. But we want users to win the entire jackpot. And generally what you see in sports betting and even esports betting is those platforms take a rake or a VIG or some type of service fee, which is kind of like, right at the end. It's like, I thought I was going to win $50 and I kind of won like 38.
After processing.
Yeah. But even when users know, hey, I'm buying these Play tokens, and that's how they make their money. But man, when I win $50, I keep all 50 of it, and I can withdraw that money and go, buy a hamburger. Or we have people on our platform, they're like, hey man, I'm glad you built this because I make more money on Play than I do at my Amazon warehouse job, or my side gig, right? So we do think over time it can create an economy that for some users, it's a little more than just entertainment. It's almost a bit of decentralized finance, right? It's GameFi, right? So we're taking content that's being streamed and making it interactive, and also monetizing it on behalf of all parties, which is a win-win.
So you mentioned that on your platform, your users will buy tokens. Now, is that anything similar to crypto? Is it a play on that, or is this just your own proprietary type of token?
Yeah, so we chose to leave it a utility out the gate, and a lot of that was just kind of pre-pandemic, before crypto was really penetrating utility. You could still argue it's still not fully at utility. It's more of a store of value. But always knowing that we could turn the knob, and especially in international markets, either create our own Play token, or I think you'll see us go next is leveraging other currencies. So I think part of what's happening is there's so many tokens, stable coins and altcoins, that there's also an opportunity to just let people bet or monetize these assets they have, right? So it's like, hey, we'll take it all in through key relationships with people like Coinbase and others. They make that super simple, even simpler than it was a year ago. And you can bet with whatever you want and cash out, and it can be fiat currency, or you can cash it into a cryptocurrency, right? So I think you'll see us enter a bunch of places. We just want to make it really easy for users. But there is also an opportunity for us to kind of take our Play utility token and maybe do something bigger with it.
Nice. Can you talk about how much you've raised so far, or is that?
No, that's public. Yeah, public. So our first, we did our initial seed for about 3.8 million. Talking about the state of raising capital as a Black man and a female founder, it's tough, right? No matter what your track record is. And I don't want to say it's any tougher than anyone else, although I believe it is, but I think it's challenging, period.
It is. We'll say it for you. It is.
Yeah, appreciate it. But I think there's complexities, obviously, that any founder of color or female founder sees every day, right? And it's either up to you to kind of muscle through it, or you can sit and point at it and cry, right? And I think we have to leave that up to others to do that. But I do think what's helped us in that raise, and we still try to hold to it, is like there is a hierarchy of investors on the planet, right? That some get to see all the cool, sexy deals, and some don't, right? And I think to that point, what I said about building businesses and maybe not going down the sexy path, or the path that builds is good for your ego. Sometimes you got to kind of get on the road physically or virtually and go to them weird places, right? Or the places nobody wants to go, right? And it's not LA, where I live now, in Silicon Valley, it's like you got to go to Wisconsin and
Hey,
DC.
that money still spent.
That money spends, right? And let me tell you, I've had people hug me because I came to Pittsburgh or to one of your spots, or Lancaster, Pennsylvania, on a Friday night in a snowstorm, because it's like we got money, but we know we're not the sexy place, right? So I think we, as our community, we can't buy all the way into that thing. That thing will be there if you make it through the gauntlet, right?
Right.
But in these beginning phases, it's you gotta go and do what you need to do. And I think the other piece, which is good for us, is that there's so much information that the average high net worth individual, they understand what multiples are in tech, right? And they understand, look, I'm placing a bet. There's some risk in this, but if I put $1 here versus in my real estate portfolio, my real estate portfolio is not going to turn out a 20x return, right?
Right.
And so now it's just the key of finding the right folks and being diligent. But it is a better moment for us. It's still.
Oh, well, I think we lost him.
Oh no.
Maybe he's in the lobby, Rob. There you go.
There we
All
go.
right.
I
He's
don't know
back.
what happened. So yeah, it's getting better, right? But it's still not perfect.
Okay.
Let me ask you real quick. Is there a resource? Because you talk about, and I love what you said about, not always trying to get a meeting at Andreessen and get their money or whoever. Is there a centralized resource of
A
kind of
directory.
all the available money, like those little known places in Lancaster or Wichita or whatever? Like do these entities have to be listed somewhere that somebody could go to and be like, you know what, I'm gonna start down at the bottom of the list and start asking down here instead of starting at the top and trying to work my way
Yeah,
down?
yeah. I've often thought about that's a business, right?
Yeah.
But so I'll say this: I think the broader world doesn't realize that there's levels of the investment game, right? So to your point, the Andreessens, who you know love them, and Chris and the team there, at the top of the food chain, right? So
Hmm.
they get to pick and choose from just the best deals on the planet. But there's levels of venture, which once again, you may not be a venture ready or a venture type company, but that's there. But then there's things like family offices, right? Which are, generally pooled funds from high net worth individuals, or sometimes most of the really high net worth families will have their own, it's called a family office, which does investing for the family. So, you know, the Carters, will have their own family office, for instance, right? And so that team is there as investment professionals to field all types of business opportunities and make investments directly. So I think that's a level that, as our community is not just used to that, right? And it's a little easier to get in. Family offices all sometimes specialize in different sectors, but they
Right.
generally want to play a little earlier, and we'll do angel and early stage, and some do growth and downfield. So that's an angle. And then what I found through a couple of these fundraising is you got to create your own, what I call, agents. And agents are sometimes people that don't know they're agents. They're the accountants, they're the lawyers, they're the insurance agents for high net worth folks. They know who has money, who doesn't. They have lunch with them. They know who just got a bunch of money and it's like, hey, I'd like to take 10% of this and put it in something a little riskier than I normally do. And so you got to create those kind of networks, and you got to help monetize those people, right? Nobody does anything for free, right? So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. True. Absolutely.
yeah,
Pick your brain. Pick your brain is a no nowadays.
yeah,
We're not chicken
I try
brains
to,
in 2022.
yeah,
Now,
that's gone.
now.
Yeah, and I think that's another place I try to help us, right? We want a lot of stuff for free, especially information. And I'm happy to do it to a degree, but I know I'm much more freer than most people, right? Especially in this economy. And so I think when you come to the table, when you know someone can tap you into a network, most people, if you just show them a path to, hey, you're gonna break me off, a little commission, or a finder's fee. I mean, you have to be careful. There are rules and regulations around how much you can actually pay someone in that kind of format, but you can create kind of finder fees, right? You can put people on your, give them some little advisor shares. There's a lot of ways to incentivize folks. And generally, when you're talking to most people, this is not this is like the side gig, right? It's like I'm talking to this person anyway, but you want them to put you in your best light. You don't want them to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. And so I think we have to get into that habit of working together in that regard. We all know lawyers and, you know, folks offering high net worth services that when they're in these rooms, have you in their mind and triangulate to, I think those four people might be an opportunity for, your business or what have you. So I think that's where I've seen opportunity. Especially when you're talking, we've been fortunate enough to have some professional athletes and celebrities, and that it's an ecosystem within its own. It's not a Fortune 500 company, but it's 50, 60 people that
Right.
It's got some money to play with.
that control talking to him or her, right? And in some cases, they're doing okay, and they're there for the love of the game because they're making money. In some cases, like what's the toll, right? So you're always, it's an art and a science to what's it worth to get to that person, right? And not just get to them, but get to them in the right light, because
Yeah.
we also know those introductions can cut your curve. And this whole business is time.
Right.
It's actually not money. The money is a big driver, but it's time based. The longer it takes you to do certain things, it impacts, product development and market access and all these other things. So you do have to constantly weigh time versus money versus other options.
Super smart.
So I was just going to say, Shawn, we could sit here and listen
All
to you
day.
talk, because the three of us particular, it's like you're doing a masterclass for us. We are all
dropping
interested in this. And
gems.
I would
Love
imagine that
talking to you.
a big part of our community, a lot of our listeners are just like, they sitting down taking notes. I already know that I'm going to steal Stephanie's notes because she's been writing stuff down. I'm not a big writer. I can't multitask like that, so I'm gonna get her notes after after the show. But just to kind of just open it back up, one of the things I was reading through is like, I just want to get your thoughts on the metaverse, Web 3.0. What are your thoughts on some of that? It seems like
NFTs.
every month we keep coming back to these conversations, but I want somebody who's in this space. I want to get your take on is this stuff for real? Should we really be paying attention to this stuff?
Yeah, I'm afraid you should. I've been blowing this horn for a while. I still think we're in its infancy, but I've been playing on the metaverse and a bunch of platforms for 10 years. What's happening is that technology has finally caught up. The early versions of the metaverse, if you put it on your laptop, it would just seize up. It just wasn't enough RAM. The platforms weren't in the cloud. Everything was localized, going to the cloud. So I think what's opening this conversation and why it's becoming a thing is because now technology, like all things, has proliferated to make it easier, right? And it's just going to, as we know, it's just going to keep getting easier exponentially. I think the pandemic also accelerated big company strategies around this, knowing that we have to continue to rely on people coming into retail and all these other environments to commit what we call e-commerce, which is going to be called something else, but kind of transactions, we're going to be in a tough spot. So I think that's what really proliferated. You always need kind of big companies to just
Push.
invest and push, create the ecosystem. Then smaller companies can get the opportunity to participate. So I think that's why it's number one a thing. I think the proliferation of crypto became the second reason why it was becoming a more real thing. And then I think clearly, like in a Web3 environment where you have persistent transaction and even things like cloud gaming, right? 2 years ago, there was some of that on the fringe, but you didn't see these companies really pushing for it. Now cloud gaming is it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the ability with Apple device or other phones that are probably stronger than some of our computers at home by themselves. Technology enables all this to be real, right? So I think that we're going to see more proliferation in the metaverse. I think the metaverse is going to take on a lot more areas of our life. So we're starting to see retail, obviously NFTs. This NFT version is still not the real version. I think we're people that are going to find true utility. We're in kind of this like cartoonish copy thing, right? Where it's not even art anymore, right? And I'm not pooping on anybody's stuff, but it's a lot of
No, some of
noise.
it's trash.
Yeah.
Some of it's trash, but you got to pay attention to one that people are finding utility. Like I buy this and I get to do these four things, and maybe that makes me money, right? Or it gives me access. So, like all things in life, you got to be able to think for yourself a little bit, but not poo-poo the whole thing. Because I'm sitting, every now and then I'm in a meeting with some, older folks who are the same ones that said the internet wasn't going to last.
Right.
Crypto is not going to last. They're the same ones saying the NFTs are stupid and the metaverse is not right. And it's like, still haven't got it. It's real when people adopt. When you see people adopt, it's real.
And I think to add to that, I think people don't want to flat out, people do not want to miss the new wave. There are people who can remember back when, oh man, if I would have just had $1,000 instead of going on college and filling out this application to get this free T-shirt and run up this credit card, if I would have took that refund check,
I missed this, I missed all these things. Yeah.
I do not want to miss this next thing. So I think there are a lot of consumers, like you should call them retail, whatever you want to call them. There are a lot of people. It's like, all right, metaverse, blockchain, crypto. I'm not missing them. I'm not missing this boat. So I think a lot of people are out there trying to, jump in, and then, like you said, it's still in its infancy. Once the utility comes, I think there are going to be a lot of people. So I think the knowledge and the awareness and the FOMO of the end consumers, end users are ones driving this thing as well.
Yeah, no, but you got to remember as a consumer, and I think things are happening faster, but it takes a while, right? For you look at all these trends, you got to be in it, and you got to believe, and so that's generally where the FOMO and the real separate, right?
Right.
You go online now, people are like, this sucks. It didn't go up in a week, and it's like, dude, it doesn't go up.
You got 20 more years, Jack.
Okay, calm down.
And it might not be
settle in.
Right. I think things happen faster. If you just look at trends, it took certain companies, whatever the last one to get to $1 trillion. I mean, look at Apple, look at Tesla, right? It's happening faster because you have more information. To your point, people know they missed out, right? Or I sold too early. So now you have more money coming into these things. But from an investor standpoint, I tell myself this too. Now you got to stay in it. You got to commit, right? Because you know it's going to do this, but over a 5, 10, 15-year period, it's going to look like this, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just an individual, perspective. You have to kind of lean in there. But yeah, so I believe some of the things that are next for metaverse, and I'm a big believer in this and working on some stuff, is that I think that's where our next athletes are going to come from. Okay. So I think in I'll say 20 years. I think it's going to be sooner, but in 20 years, you won't care about LeBron James anymore. You'll care about some avatar bot in the metaverse that's the best fighter or the best, and it could be a 12-year-old that owns that.
Are you talking elite? You thinking Alita, Battle Angel, Ready Player One type?
And I think there's these worlds that are being constructed, especially once we get to where there's cross world play, right? So now you can't take it from Decentraland to this. That's coming, right? There's a bunch of people working on that. But once you get to that point with some other components to build and grow and skill up a particular character, bot, avatar, I think these things will become the next cultural icons and athletes. Okay. I don't think we'll care about certain celebrities. I think it'll morph.
Shawn, you are the third person in as many weeks who has said that they think that, and they weren't going 20 years, they were going in the next 5-10 years.
It could be.
They were saying that you're going to see avatars that are going to become superstars. And they gave me, the last person I talked to, they gave me the example of a movie called Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, where basically it's a bunch of robots fighting each other. And she told me, she was like, think of that movie, but instead of physical robots, this is all in the metaverse.
Yeah.
And like they're stars, and I'm like, wow. It's like, so yeah, I need to go find 5 books on that and read it and try to try to get a level of understanding.
Have you read a famous book on the metaverse, Snowfall?
No, I can't say I have.
I have not.
Read that book.
Putting it on my list.
The author's his name. I can see it. His name escaped me, but that book. Once you read that, it's the predator. You'll see, all this will make sense to you. It's actually been the roadmap for a lot of these early metaverse architectures. Is it's in that book.
Wow. So talk to us about what Play has coming up. I heard y'all got a couple of new little partnerships popping recently. We'll let you brag a little bit on Play right now.
No, it's not me. I got a good team. We signed some enterprise deals. So we have a partnership with a company called HashCube that has about 20 million mobile gaming users here in Africa and in India. And so they'll integrate our kind of AI data tech solution and create cash wager matches within their free-to-play experience. So we're super excited about that. We think there's many more of those deals. And then today we announced a deal with our first esports professional team, the Kansas City Pioneers. They have about 1 million plus users and have a top 5 Halo team, which is next on one of the games on our roadmap. So we're really excited about that. We think that the fan base that's been aggregated by esports teams is going under monetized. In many cases, they really are making money off of, well, live events are challenging these days. It's really merchandise. And so we think we can kind of bring skill-based wagering into those environments and kind of everybody wins. So we want to do more of those deals as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Shawn, we have to thank you for for taking the time to have this little conversation, this little masterclass where you have just given us some clues and some gems
Nuggets
into the game. It has been so valuable to us, and I'm sure to our community. And before we wrap the show up, I just want to give you the opportunity to tell all of our listeners and all of our watchers, if anyone wants to follow you, how they can actually find you, maybe on social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, anything like that. Let us know how people can get to you.
Before you get to that, I looked it up. I think you're talking about the book Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson.
Yes.
Snow Crash.
Okay. I put it in the chat, and we'll make sure you add it in the show notes.
For checking me. It's been a long time. First, thank you all for having me, and love what you're doing, and keep going. We need more of these dialogues and your perspective. And people can just find me on Instagram and Twitter. It's King Gunn with 2 N's. And then LinkedIn, I think I'm just Shawn Gunn, ShawnGunn, and happy to chat and network with people. All good.
Thanks, family.
I appreciate it. Catch up soon.
So
Thanks.
much.
Yeah. You guys take care. Keep going.
Yeah.
All right.